We're now joined by Kendall Roy. Why did you get involved? Why did you back out?
I saw their plan, and my dad's plan was better.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first fucking thing my son's ever done right in his life. We need to discuss this bear hug. Stick or sell?
I think you should fight. You're the one who built it all.
Kendall and Roman will act as co-chief operating officers.
He tried to help your oldest enemy to take over and he gets the promotion?
I'd like to ask you to come in and be the next chief executive of this company.
I'm still applying for the job of President of the United States.
Do you think that that's like a natural progression from never done nothing, never to most important job in the world?
We're going for PGM. We leverage up and eat Pierce. We're too big for Sandy and Stewie to come for.
Welcome to Turnhaven, our city on the hill.
I have to ask.
Any thought given to whom you might hand over the keys?
Just tell him it's gonna be me.
Fuck off.
We had a tip-off some time ago.
New York Magazine working on a substantial piece.
Data wipes, NDAs, cruise malpractice.
So you know when you had me destroy those documents at Cruises? I kept a few.
Where are they, those papers?
I'll never tell.
The shareholder vote is going to be close. Could you seduce?
Should we get married?
That's not equivalent.
A lot to think about. I get it, so let it.
What did you know about wrongdoing by means of the keeping of shadow logs?
I believe my son was across that operation.
You think we're through?
Not with the shareholders. Time for a blood sacrifice.
So, whose big hairy foot's gonna fit in the glass slipper?
Tom, looks logical.
What?
I have to be an honest broker.
I'm really pretty unhappy being with you.
I like her, Dad.
I just don't want you fucked on drugs, and she's part of it. You're across the cleanup. The optics make sense. And now, you're the face. You're not a killer. You have to be a killer.
I have an announcement to make about wrongdoing at Waystar Roy Cove. The truth is that my father is a malignant presence, a bully and a liar. And this is the day his reign ends.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Check check. What's going on, everybody? Justin Thomas here from Top Shelf Fandom. Big shout out right away to Costume Co., one of my finest content creators and somebody I'm happy to be in business with. Editing her videos for her channel right now and producing some live streams. And just so you know, Heidi, I always take about at least a few days to prepare yours, and I take about 5 minutes to prepare mine. But speaking about mine, Maura, that is so kind, and you are supportive across the board to so many creative people out there, and it's just so kind. And please, that's why I keep you in my Patreon list. Is like I told you, I said you're just I think you've donated enough money to get us all by and deservingly support us, and I think that it's just across the board kind, and I think you truly do support creativity, and you're just, I don't know, you're one of those rare good people that are out there, and it does mean a lot. So we are talking about good people right now, but not for long, because in this stream we are talking about some very bad people, pretty much the embodiment of Carnegie's gospel of wealth, of why you shouldn't pass down money to generations, and kind of what it does, and Logan Roy's way of his woof pen of pitting his kids against each other in this Murdoch-esque family. And I just had to take a quick check on this audio to make sure it's not too loud or too low, so I apologize. Give me 1 second. All right, so I think we're for the most part okay. So yes, we are going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 1. I actually was doing a bit of a template for a potential future client, and I took a break from it to watch Succession because I didn't get to catch it on Sunday. And it's one of those series that I just have been so passionate about it, and it's always been like something that even when Westworld or Game of Thrones is going on, because it was going on at the same time as Westworld at one point, that I was able to watch. And I kind of like, I don't know, I've talked about this in the past, I felt very like I don't know, it's just a relief sometimes not to have to talk about something, or watching it without like that pending feeling of I'm gonna need to give some analysis on this. I know woe is me and all that, I'm not trying to say that, but after watching this episode, I can't explain it. I put the work to the side, because sometimes in edit you need to take a step away from it and come back to it the next day, and I said I just want to talk about it. I want to talk about this phenomenal first episode of season 3, C-Session, which I'm pretty sure, let me check my grammar here, is the leaving of a major body. Yeah, it is. It's withdrawal of a group of a larger entity. You know, we succeeded from Union, or not we. No, man, I've been in North Carolina too long. But yeah, you know, like you leave a larger. In this sense, it's a media conglomerate. So we start off with the outcome, or the blowback, immediate blowback from Kendall Roy becoming the killer that the brilliantly played by Brian Cox, Logan Roy, has created. And I think that this season is so refreshing on so many levels, in the sense of it's always kind of hard to like play this game with these series, because in Succession you're dealing with, again, this Murdoch-esque family. It's brilliantly directed and written by Adam McKay, who does a really good job of explaining like technical stuff. Far better if you put Wolf of Wall Street, I did this in a video before, against say Veep, or not Veep, Veep's a good show, Vice, or The Big Short, where they, you know, talk about shorting stock, or the vice president and so forth, right? Like, you actually understand that, like, Adam McKay, for all his silly movies that, by the way, I love with Will Ferrell and stuff like that, he's actually really good at like giving the best chance audience has at like understanding to some level like this like media conglomerate and what's going on with like a Fox News or a CNN or something like that. So like I think I really appreciate that, but at the same time you're dealing with this, again, Murdoch-esque family, where there's this supposed passing of the torch from Logan Roy to his eldest son Kendall that gets squashed right away due to health issues. And now we're at season 3, so the point is, how do you keep these kids realistically fighting against each other? Because it's like, you got to think to yourself, man, if Shiv, Roman, and Kendall could just like cut the bullshit, right, and get in a room together and have an honest talk and stop trying to just draw blood, they could be like, man, Dad's like really just like, you know, using us. And you know, like the quote that I like to use is that there's power is a vacuum and love cannot exist within it. In this power struggle, this is definitely a great depiction of it. And it's like, I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not a Forbes billionaire, but I'm sure as hell gonna act like one for about a half hour here, because I think all these people could go see Dr. Melfi from The Sopranos, because they all got some Freud issues, mommy, daddy issues, all this stuff, and they're all looking to please people that have never really emotionally done anything fulfilling for them. So how long can you keep that going believably is what I'm getting at. And you have pretty much you know, Kendall going off the reservation at the end of the finale, spoiler alert, for season 2, meaning his dad has dealt with this character's addiction issues, his emotional issues, and he has coaxed him and he has groomed him to be the sacrificial lamb. He literally says, son, you're not a killer and you got to be the one. You know, you're not. He creates this monster, essentially, or he at least creates his own downfall by telling, you know, Kendall that he's got to take the fall, because they need to, essentially at this point with Waystar dealing with all of their legal issues, they have passed, like, you know, the legalities, but they still have to show some sort of competence to their shareholders. I'm assuming most people that are watching this, whoever is watching this, will understand what's happening in this series. So what they're saying is, we got to shed blood. Like, it's like when a company needs to show that they're for real. You got to like cut the head off of somebody that matters, somebody with a name, right? You can't be like, I got rid of Joe Blow from the, you know, janitor room, even though Joe Blow from the janitor room is probably more useful than a lot of these kids. So you gotta do that. It's a realistic thing that happens. It happened with the real Murdoch family and stuff like that. So Kendall flips the script on him though, and totally realizes that Logan has tied himself way too close to him with any of these actual allegations of that car crash that they were in. You know, he has groomed him through all of his pain, and it's really sad to see, because I've dealt with a lot of issues in my life, and I think they depict addiction, the personality traits of people that deal with addiction issues, as I have in the past, and stuff like that, very accurately. And I think that, you know, the grooming that Logan does is so... he's a parasite, and he's like a succubus. It's disgusting, and he definitely acts like he cares about his son when it's beneficial to him, but it's only when he can weaken him, make him play into the role he needs him to be. But his son flipped the script, made him realize, hey, guess what, Dad? You ain't going to say nothing about anything because you've already implicated yourself in all of this mess. So I'm going to go ahead and say that all these cruise line, everything with the trafficking of women, assault, their sexual assault accusations, and there's actually one murder that Waystar is on the line for. Remind you this, they're coming in. Kendall came out and he was public with it and said that my father is lying. My father is, ethically and morally corrupt, essentially, and he is not fit mentally, physically, or in any ethical sense to be the running this media conglomerate in any way. I think Logan has realized his misstep, and he has, because he looks at this as a game of pitting these kids against each other. So Kendall has now struck back. Kendall has waited till he thought that, Logan thinks that Kendall's at his weakest at the season finale of season 2. Now we come in at season 3, and Kendall is maybe at the most powerful he's ever been. But Kendall starts off this episode, people, like he starts off the season 1 premiere. Remember that Kendall that was kind of a douchebag? That Kendall that was like, he's almost unrecognizable. Like, he's just trying to talk cool. He's trying to have I don't know, he's trying to be hip or whatever the hell he's trying to be, but he's not himself. And he just seems very unrecognizable and, even more importantly, very unrelatable, right? So Kendall has done an ethical thing here. He's done a just thing. The first thing he does is gets into the car with the lovable Greg. Let's pull up some of these people here on the actual screen. Let's see what we got here. All right. Greg, the moral backbone of this show, and a fantastic character. Played by Nicholas Braun here. He gets into the car. He has Greg with him, who Greg is somebody that I truly believe is... Greg cares about people. Greg is the outsider that came in, and he's been treated rudely, crudely, but he still has. It's that, in season 2, it's a great scene where he tells Tom that, he's like, well, I have morals and stuff. And Tom's like, what do you mean morals? What are you fucking talking about with morals? Grow up. You know what I mean? This is how out of touch these people are. And he's like, what is one of your morals? And this is Tom to Greg, and Greg goes, I don't know. I think racism is bad. He's like, fuck you, Greg. I think everybody thinks race, pretty much base, morality and stuff like that. And Greg comes across as your audience surrogate into this family, but Greg is with Kendall because what Kendall has just done is been honest about what the company's been doing. They've been covering up stuff. They're not this ethical or moral, there's no moral backbone, to this company, Waystar, whatsoever. He is coming out and he has done a just thing, but he's essentially with a lawyer and Greg, and the lawyer right away is worried about things like this might be a company car, the word it is. So she's pretty much trying to cross the Rubicon with Caesar after Caesar decides to start a civil war, and worried about getting a what do you call it when you cross the jaywalking ticket. It's like you cross the Rubicon with Caesar, and then you're worried about getting a jaywalking ticket. You can't have those type of people. You can't have half-steppers, because this is the war lines for this season, people. This is Logan versus Kendall. So that means Logan and however many of the other kids, Shiv and Roman, and their significant others, which we'll get to about who really made the best moves with them. But you need to draw these lines immediately. So Kendall is smart in the sense of he gets rid of her right away, because you might think, okay, that's smart, but she's really kind of thinking a little bit too small about everything in a business sense. She's thinking, oh, well, this is a company car, because what Kendall has done, he argues, is good for the shareholders. But yes, he has actually gone against, and he's violated some NDAs, non-disclosure, and his actual leadership position within the company. So there's the corporate structure, and then there's the company's a public company, so there is a ethical and a moral obligation to the shareholders as well. And this is kind of the catalyst of season 2, is they're thinking about selling the company, and they end up backing out of it because they have to prove they're good people. And he was supposed to be the sacrificial lamb. He says, no, Logan, I'm going to call you dad out on all your bullshit. So he's kind of getting rid of the weak people right away, because what Kendall has done is devastating to Logan, and it's very righteous. But here's the problem. A little bit of that Kendall starts to sneak back in. It starts to sneak back in this episode, and you start to see where he gets this kind of douchebaggery that you see in season 1, because people are jumping to Kendall's side because he's done something ethical. So it's very important to take note that some people are definitely on the line right now, but people are just in general. Lisa is one of them, one of the lead attorneys and spokespeople for this company, goes to Kendall and brings her associates and turns down Shiv in this episode, which is very important because Shiv is the politic. Shiv is the one that has worked with all these left-wing politicians, and you got to remember this is supposed to be like a Murdoch-esque company, so this is like Fox News. So bridging the gap, meaning like the ethical and moral, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to talk about politics here, but she definitely is useful, but she's kind of got that political talk. She's kind of got like that bullshit to her. She acts like she's kind of like, didn't realize anything bad was happening. Nobody buys into her talk essentially in this episode, and they go to Kendall just because of what he did. But Kendall in this episode did something that was very, very telling to me. He had these very important people that Logan was trying to get from the company, because everybody's drawing sides. They're forming up their armies. They said what to him? They said, you don't have to pitch us. We're here for you because of his actions. His actions spoke louder than words. But what did Kendall do? He said, can I pitch you anyways? And that's his hubris. That's his vanity. And that's the addict in him, and I know it. He sits there and he sounds terrible. He's pitching about getting cool hashtags going and Twitter names. Let's get the, Bojack guys on his avatar and stuff. Like he's got his like coming to Jesus moment here. He goes to his ex-wife's house and says, did you see what I did? Like I did it for the kids and you. Like he did something very good, but you can tell all this, like they're all devoid of love in this family. So he thinks that like everybody is going to realize how good of a person he is. And this is this like just watershed moment in his life. And he did do such a good thing, but he's handling it poorly. And you can already see how it's going down the drain. He has Greg with him, who is surprisingly corporate savvy in my pick for actually the one Roy, I don't think he's technically a Roy, to make it out of this thing whole, because he still has like a little bit of corporate talk. You got to give it to Greg for coming from nothing. He gave up money from his grandpa, which I think Logan would just appreciate, just because of the fact that he hates his brother. So he's like, fuck you, I'll take care of your nephew or your grandson, whatever. But he also like speaks when he's in the car. He's like, no, I will keep my seat in this car and see where this car goes. So like he never like states anything like absolutely. So like he's like kind of learning the lingo, just like kind of like when he asked Tom if he could blackmail him, and Tom called him, he's like, are you asking permission to blackmail me? He's like, shut up. So like he's very innocent, but also he is an ethical person that I think truly believes about Kendall. And Kendall obviously is going to struggle because he started a movement, but I hate to be very stereotypical about it. I see this series going in the route of having this family come together in a way that's the only way this company really can work, is if they do have these traits in which they've assigned to these characters. Because when you look at Shiv and the other side, Logan's camp, Logan is sitting there and he is just, you can tell he knows he messed up, but nothing he does is actually the act of a father. You get what I mean? Like nothing this guy does is ever, what's going on, Amber? How are you? I know I'm on my rant here. Eagles awaken, Skyhawks, all that expands. Lovely to see you. We look at the business moves that are happening right here. Logan is doing everything from not allowing people to eat, because if you've ever been like under a lot of stress, you know that like if you have an appetite, like honestly, I know it kind of sounds cruel, but like there's always like truth in all of these methods. The people that are hungry, that can actually have an appetite at this time, he's not letting people eat. Like he's like literally like he's in crisis mode, but like he's also trying to, again, shear the wolves. He's trying to like get his pit of monsters that he's created ready to go into what he calls beast mode, full beast mode, right? Because he's grooming these destructive monsters that are going to, just crush anything. And he created this monster, he'll slay it. But there's a lot of people there that are more looking out for themselves. They're trying to distance themselves legally. They're trying to make statements like, I just want to make it clear that I never knew Logan hurt anybody or blah, blah, blah. There's a few people are making disclaimers. The big winner, you could say, of the Waystar company is Jerry from this episode, because she is elected CEO. But I'm going to argue that, number one, Jerry is one hell of a competent woman, and she's a very good example of a very smart, just smart and very fucking useful. Like she can make shit work. She's the only person throughout this episode, before Logan elected a standing CEO, meaning he has to step back because he realizes he looks like shit right now. Jerry already had it, because Jerry's the only person, when they come up to him and ask where the plane's going, by the way, they choose Sarajevo, that's where World War II started. Or World War One, I'm sorry. World War One starts in Syria. They name a whole bunch of countries that have no extradition laws to the United States. But Jerry's the one telling the pilot where to go. Logan always does this. Logan Roy, the father, goes and sits in the side, and he sees how the wolves fight amongst each other, and he sees who is the strongest, and that is just like again that vacuum that power resides in that love cannot, and he just allows these people, and he just watches everybody. He never gives an explicit or absolute answer, definitive answer on anything. He just sees how these people suss it out. But Jerry is the one that's doing everything from the very start of this episode. Where's the plane going? Okay, we're gonna go to Sarajevo. Even Tom, who like found it like odd to say that, you know, Greg has ethics or morals, right? Like he's even like, why are we going to Sarajevo? And I'm not saying anything bad about Sarajevo, but they're clearly using this episode as a example of a country that does not extradite to the United States. So, you know, I got a bunch of Bosnian friends back in Michigan. You know, I love you. I don't really know what's going on there, but it just obviously it's political and legal moves that they're making right now that are very, I guess what they're called boss moves, but the boss also goes to jail. So you have right away the kids waning and yearning, the Shiv and Roman, for their dad's respect and his love. He goes back to the same pot that he always does, the same tool that he always utilizes is this, listen, Shiv, I can't make any decisions right now. She's like, oh, of course not, because she shows love and compassion for him, but Logan has no love or compassion for his kids. I'm sure he has some semblance of it in his own ideal of what that is, but he does not project it. But he uses that love that they have for him to make these very vague statements to them, meaning like, you'll be in charge. He implies to Shiv that she'll be in charge, but I can't announce it yet, so she needs to show that she's, you know, up to the bar. He implies to Roman, I think he even applies to Tom that he'll be. And if Tom has married, I love the actor that plays Tom. I think Tom, Matthew McFadden, is a fantastic character. He's a evil son of a bitch, but he's hilarious with Greg. They're like the comic duo. If you guys ever want to watch like just a put in the best of Succession, Tom and Greg, and it's just fucking fantastic because Tom is married into a family that has no love. And if you think Logan Roy doesn't love his kids, what do you think he thinks about a guy that married his daughter? And Tom, I think, definitely loves Shiv, but you know, as like as a business move, God, if that guy thinks he's in any room in this fucking scenario where it's not a room that Logan wants him there because he knows he's going to regurgitate something to Shiv, because he's not a dumb guy, right? Like he has a master's degree, you know, whatever. Like he's worked his way through corporate structure, but he married into the wrong family because love is a fucking deep void in this family. And, you know, he only makes lateral moves, and Shiv doesn't give him any compassion. And that job is not working out for him. I think he will end up crawling back to Greg. So I think that Tom is totally crossed out in this episode. He's very useful. He's very funny in this episode as always. But Tom is making about the worst moves out of anybody. I'd go Tom, and then we can move on to Roman. Roman had really no value as a human being, arguably. He doesn't have addiction issues, but he's a sycophant, right? They made sure to like really like kind of display throughout his first season just how fucked up this guy is mentally. Like just not a guy that's like even nice to anybody. He always shits on everybody, uses his privilege. He's like the embodiment of the gospel of wealth, of like they will not be good people. And he obviously has a lot of issues with his sexual maturity and things like that, as far as his Freud would love a take at Roman, who is often referred to in times of strife, which are plentiful, as Romulus, because of Romulus and Remus, you know, the two brothers, mythological brothers that found Rome and killed each other. So he's always pitting the two sons against each other. But he did show worth in season 2. Jerry gets him to go. Jerry, his mom infatuation, which, you know, I don't want to get too much into that, but he obviously has some weird attraction towards a parental figure. Jerry is that figure. Like I said, she's in control before she even gets the official control. She's the one that is doing things. Everybody else is sitting back waiting for other people to make moves because they're waiting for people to step over, trip over themselves and make mistakes, and then they can, like, you know, it's just a lot of weak-minded people. Like, you have to wonder in a company like this, there's somebody that's actually working, and it's not these fucking people for the most part. They're all there making these corporate moves, but like there's just a lot of bullshit happening here. But when you look at Roman, they have established that he has some use in the sense, and this comes into my whole puzzle theory in this how series usually work, that this family, I don't think it's going to be some big happy ending, but I think it should go 5 seasons, and these kids will have to come together, right, as characters, because they each bring a unique skill set. Kendall is just got a lot of personal issues, and it's nothing against it, but he can't survive on his own because he wants to find fulfillment in one way or another. Some are more harmful to his health than others. Some are more harmful to his ego, so forth. Roman is a sycophant to an extent, but he showed some fiscal responsibility, or at least ability, when he managed to get very sketchy, but let's face it, this isn't the cleanest business in the world. He secured private financing for Waystar, which meaning they don't need to answer to their shareholders, which I would argue is pretty advantageous in this sense because they're kind of a really fucked up corporation. Having shareholders tell them that, hey, you know, we want you guys to like look good because like we'd like to invest in a company that's not like a cesspool of like debauchery. So he did secure, and they did it with his back against the wall. There was like that kind of like pseudo prisoner holding that they had. There was like this terrorist vibe and the shareholder when they went overseas. So they've established that Roman is capable in a fiscal sense, that Shiv is capable in a political sense, meaning if you're going to buy Fox News and you're going to move it on to the next level, you might need somebody to bridge the gap with, liberals, Democrats, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you might want to have somebody that can like have a, more of a fair playing field. But the father has separated anybody with any connections, especially Shiv. He does enough to always feed them to go and serve his plots, his plans. He's basically a little finger, a little bit more clever, enough to sever their ties. Shiv has severed all of her ties with all the politicians she worked with. She has alienated them. She has totally lost all face within that community that could have been so useful. And then, of course, her father, Logan, doesn't hold up to his end of the deal. He doesn't use her. He just uses her enough until she's not a threat. It's always just, he stabilizes his children. He does not boost his children up. And that's what makes this series so fascinating, is that it's like, how long can you keep doing this? How long can you keep just pretty much spitting in the face of your kids and your employees before it gets old and people are like, whoa, this guy's just a dirtbag? They keep finding a way to do it. Season 1, C-Session, or Season 3, C-Session, this opener is a beautiful, beautiful episode. It keeps up the vibe for anybody that was worried, and myself being one of them, that they couldn't keep up this energy that they've had, and keep up a believable, a decent suspension of disbelief, right, of how this family is interacting with each other. Because, like, I mean, it borders on Schadenfreude. It really does. It borders on, like, watching. There's one episode where he does that hog exercise that, like, is kind of borderline disturbing, but I love the series overall. But it's like, how long are intelligent people going to act in unintelligent ways, right? How long can they really, really, like, keep this going, this charade? How long? And you're basically asking, how long can people be deceived, and how long can people lie to themselves? Well, for a long fucking time, especially when they got a bunch of obviously emotional deficiencies due to their crude raising that was very privileged, but again devoid of love. So they do a beautiful job of setting the boundaries of what they set up with season 1 with Kendall, who is supposed to take the company in an intelligent way this time, ethically making a moral stance against his father, which brings over useful people that Logan Roy cannot get. But again, his insistence on pitching to them, his way in which he's been interacting with people ever since, you just see it. You see why Kendall is just not a guy that can lead on his own. He needs a support system, and I hate to sound corny, but I think it might be his siblings. In a Roman, I would argue you could probably throw him out the window. I kind of have like no justification for him, and I think he's tying himself to an anchor because Jerry has won this episode, and she made the best moves. If you're thinking the best move is to be the head of Waystar, Waystar's gonna be fucked. So Roman is now reversing Tom's move. He's stealing his moves. And he is going and he is seducing, I guess, if you can call that seduction. He's taking out his mommy issues and his Freudism on with Jerry, and he's tying himself to her. I think that Logan actually doesn't see this. I think it would be I think it would be a little bit foolish to believe that Logan actually knows that much about his children. Personally, I think that he kind of is realizing that. I think that he obviously underestimated Kendall, and I think he only thinks to a certain end. Right? He's only thinking to a certain end with all of his children. So to think that he sees this like mommy, because obviously Kendall's out, or Roman, excuse me, is out as soon as he pitches Jerry to his father. But I think that's just basic, like, oh, he looks at that as a weakness. I don't think he's really like, I think Logan Roy's issue is his success. Thank you, Cat Lover D. Cat Lover D, beautiful cat. I got an aria somewhere behind here. Thank you as well. We are not an evil media conglomerate here, but I think it's fascinating to see these people. But I think that to look at Logan Roy at this stage of his life is anything other than a petty person that's had a lot of success and has been, somebody that can, as he says, beast mode or bear hug somebody. These are his, approaches to power. These are his Machiavellian ways and all of these ways that maybe used to work, but with the optics today, which Shib seems to care too much about and Roman seems to not give any shits about, is an example of exactly, I keep bringing up Carnegie Gospel of Wealth, but it's one of those things where you watch a show and you kind of like can learn something. And I went and read Carnegie after the first season of this and read what he thought about, leaving power and money to others and like what type, he wasn't the best guy himself, he admits it, but whatever, you kind of really see this embrace, and you see this series that's really going down this route where it's like these people, I think they are going to piece it together like a beautiful puzzle, like most series do, where the kids, if they could just get together, they will get together and they'll make this thing work. But you really have these traits that are, very unique to only them. But Logan only uses them to the extent that it benefits him. And they always fall short because Logan will always withhold something. And it's not always the CEO position, or it has nothing to do with money. It's love. They don't have love. Everybody's trying to get somewhere, and they think they're going to, like Kendall right now just did something very ethical, people, at the end of this last season. We're going to close this up. It was a beautiful thing. Kendall said, fuck you. And I've dealt with some people. I've dealt with, I was a DJ in Detroit for 10 years. And the first job I had when the guy let me go, it's because I started my own business. They jumped me out back. I've dealt with these idiots that think they're like Machiavellian and they're going to bear hug people and beast mode things. And people are brutes. People are ignorant. People are fucking cruel, too. They're violent. And I've seen it. And I think that if you can deal with a club owner, you can deal with about anybody. And I'm happy to deal with you kind people and people that appreciate listening to me ramble like this. But I'll tell you what, they are very often successful for a short period of time, but they're very short-sighted. And I think Logan Roy is realizing right now the only thing that can make him more of a threat is if this self-realization, this introspect keeps happening. Because this whole episode, Brian Cox plays this character beautifully. He said multiple times in interviews that he fucking hates playing. He loves the character, playing the character, but he hates the character, has nothing in line with him. Because he's a fucking evil bastard. But he plays him so brilliantly. When Roman says, hey, do you want me to come with you, Dad? He's like, you want to suck my cock? I mean, come on. This is just this is him saying, who do you think you are? You're going to fucking hug me and give me a kiss and tell me everything's all right, Dad? He's like, these people are pawns to him. But also, he's going to have to, the literal name of the series is Succession. Heidi, as always, you are amazing. I love it. I'm working on these for you, too. I had to do a different template today, but look forward to the Halloween special stream. And we got some exciting news with another big YouTuber, fantastic James Hancock, that I did actually a Gains of London stream with it. Heidi is going to be working with next month. And please check out Costume Code. She's a brilliant, brilliant creator and a good friend of mine. And actually, I started watching Succession because of one of James's videos. I was after Westworld. I was trying to think of some deep philosophical take on something for before the dust settles, like a douchebag, because I am. And I watched Succession. I was like, I love this. I love the grittiness of it. I love the comedy in it. I love the lightheartedness in it. I love the seriousness of the real portrayal of what these privileged people have that, they don't, nobody's ever happy, man. Like, no, you can't you cannot pass happiness down. You can't pass love down. You can't do it. these people are everybody's always missing something, and you got to find yourself to be happy within your own self. I know it sounds like some Buddhist whatever, some Hobby Lobby philosophy, but you really look at a series like this and you look at a guy like Cameron, the son that I think he's supposed to be from a different mother, but I think he's Adam McKay's. Let's pull him up really quick. This guy, I believe, you can always tell like when like there's a little bit of like motivation here from the writers. When you have, so that's the middle Culkin. Here we go. Alan Ruck. Now, was he in Ferris Bueller's? I can't remember if he was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yes, he was. He was Cameron. That's why I keep calling him Cameron. But in Succession, he was wearing the Red Wings jersey, which hit home. Connor Roy. So he is the son that literally is going to be running for president, people. And even, Roman, the sycophant, says to him in the first season, you think that's a natural move, from going from, say doing nothing to doing like, the most important job in the world. So I think that's kind of McKay's take on, obviously, if you've seen Vice or anything like that, on some of the past presidents, people that are maybe a little bit entitled to power and so forth. But I do think that everybody has these different skill sets that they can, put to use. And I also do think there is something to be said for people that aren't afraid of power, in the sense of like a boss that like doesn't use power to abuse it. Like Kendall doesn't abuse power, but he wants to fulfill his happiness. And again, I'm just pseudo psychologist here, but I don't know. It's what I see. Let me know in the comments. I see Kendall as a guy that tries to like fulfill his happiness through these corporate deeds. No, he should be servicing the corporate industry in which he runs or is attempting to take over, right? Like he can't like go and fix things with his ex because of this. Like these are self-serving ways. This is hubris and vanity, the same as, you see with his father, just in a different way. It's just a different way to do it. And I'm sure that Logan, who grew up dirt poor literally in Scotland in this series, that was raised in a very harsh way, looks at his like bullpen dirty ways of raising these kids. I don't know what else to call it, but it's very brutal, right? It's devoid of any love, like we said, is like beneficial to them, advantageous. I'm sure like he might even respect Kendall right now. He kind of says that. It's almost game recognized game when he says to him on the phone, he's like, listen, you made a good move. We could make this good again. Like, you've earned my respect. I see you. You checked me. You were like, yo, I'm not gonna let you make me your fucking scapegoat. And I've got clout too, and I have things I can do too. And you said I'm not a killer, and I just killed you. And now, he's like, come back. But that's saving the guy. Just that's not really doing it. But also trying to, like, again, you see this essence of Kendall that I think is brilliant that they're bringing back, because if you watch episode 1, I almost felt like before that was not applicable to the rest of the series. And you honestly, like, sometimes you see this with series. They get different directors. It's almost more of a reality show shoot with there's a lack of steady cam. And there's a lot of shaky cam, meaning in the first episodes, there was a difference with the production. And you see that quite often because you pitch a pilot and then it gets picked up 6 months later, sometimes more. I know Heidi knows this. I know a lot of people know this. So like you'll see that often. You'll notice a different tone in show. The Sopranos is the same thing. It's a very Goodfellas-esque way of telling a story for the first episode. And then they revert and they kind of make changes. They polish it and they put it out. But it kind of makes sense that Kendall was like that, because Kendall was supposed to take over the company in that first episode. Now he has, but he's done it on his own merits, and he did it in an ethical way, the way that does not, in fact, he's going to talk to the government, he's going to talk to them, and he's going to, disclose some things that aren't so great about himself either. He's going to, in a sense, come clean. Let's not make him a saint, but he also thinks that his ex-wife maybe is going to forgive him. He's going to be this new hip guy, this guy that, because nobody's ever shown him any respect in his life. He's just been a whipping boy for his father in the company. And, obviously it's led to some issues that, I've dealt with some of those issues. And, if you highest of highs and lowest of lows for that guy, he's going to find that high somewhere. And I think he's trying to find it right now through this business venture, but he is going to cloud this business venture with that hubris and that vanity. If he could just sit back and do what he knows is right and keep his ego out of it, which is easier said than done, and I know it'd be a lot better, but I would give this episode a 9 out of 10. I mean, I think this series should definitely go 5 seasons. We're at the beginning of the 3rd. I could see this going into the 4th season, in which you do get some type of common ground with the kids. And let's not forget that this whole series started because Kendall was supposed to take over. He gave it to his new wife, and then he had a stroke, meaning Logan had health issues. And Logan still has health issues, people. Let's not forget that he did lose control of his bladder in front of a boardroom and all this. So, like, he is stable mentally and physically right now, but he's had a stroke and he could have one again anytime, and let's expect that probably is going to come into play, especially once these other characters stabilize. So we'll get to see the growth. 5 seasons, I think, is perfect. I think this is one of the best series on TV, hands down, one of the best series on TV. It is fucking funny as hell, and I kind of feel dirty saying it, but man, like, with all the seriousness of like these issues that I can relate to some of them, man, it's fucking funny though. Like, I don't know what it's just, maybe it's just me. I don't think it's just me. People love some Greg and Tom. Go and check it out. What's up, AK? On a stream right now, just saw you're live and had to come through and smash it. Hemlock Grove. Yeah, AK. Leave a link. You got a wrench. Leave a link to the stream, and people can go and check you out after. Are you talking about Tom, Heidi? Really quick before we go, let's see. I think you're right about that, to be honest with you. And I'm sorry, I wasn't checking the chat. I'm better at editing other people's stuff. I'll stick to that. I'm also happier. You know, my hubris is off the door there. Hemlock Grove, is he? I think he is in Hemlock Grove, is he not? Let's see. Howard's in Ripper Street. He is The Last Kingdom. Oh yeah, he was Uhtred's dad in The Last Kingdom. I forgot that. Three Musketeers. I didn't have. Pillars of the Earth. Yeah, he is a very talented actor. But I want to thank you guys so much. AK, if you want to leave the link to that stream, as long as you guys aren't, like, you know, streaming something crazy, which I know you're a good person and you're a very kind person, and I respect your knowledge, and expect everybody that supports me to go over there and give Alicia a watch, and stop by Costume Co. if you haven't already. I'm sure you have, but please stop by. Our latest stream was with the wonderful Cortex, and of course the wonderful Costume Co. I just make it look pretty, and they actually do the intelligent stuff. So I think that hour-long stream that you guys nailed for the Dune preview, and we're going to do another one, was awesome. Like I said, big shout out to James Hancock. Actually, let me link his channel, because he's such a talent. He's really a persistent content creator. He's like he was on Robert and Geek's channel twice too, and he joined me, and I was very lucky to have him for the Gains of London. And I just reached out because I wanted to hook him and Heidi up to do something down the line in November, because he has a wide range of content that he puts out. Like, so he's kind of like a Chris Stuckerman, kind of like a Jeremy Johns, but also, like, you know, gives like a little bit more insightful takes. Not that they don't, but like, he does instant movie reviews, instant episode reviews, that I'm always amazed by the you know, how much he can actually brevity is not my strong point, so, you know, I appreciate that about him, but, you know, how much he can really convey within these, like, he watches an episode and then he just puts the camera on him, and this guy's a freaking genius. Like, he's just, I don't know, he just knows how to get to the point, and I can appreciate that, even though you probably wouldn't think so. But yeah, he's really bright, and he does like, his range is vast. He does a lot of different shows. He does a lot of different films. He's a filmmaker himself. He has some production experience. I know that I just went and saw The Last Duel, and I know for a fact that, like, he worked with Ridley Scott on Hannibal, and got to even drive him to the airport. He did a fun little story about that in one of his last videos. But if you guys are, like, looking for, again, the reason I'm watching the show I'm talking about right now, and I have no fiscal benefit of saying this, he's just a good guy, is because of him. And he was so kind to come on with Gains of London, and he just laid it out, because I wasn't as versed in that series. And James is just a really smart guy, and you know, obviously Heidi is fantastic and brilliant, AK is fantastic and brilliant, and you all are great people for supporting me, and I'm going to try to do a little bit more of these. But again, you know, I do like doing the editing and the production and putting brilliant minds together, because I do realize that my appeal is limited, and I get it. But your guys' generosity, your kindness, your intelligence, and your support is not limited. It seems to be infinite, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you guys so much for being around, supporting creativity, for supporting me, and let's, you know, go and watch some scumbags in succession and laugh a little bit. You know, it's okay. They're all rich. No, Greg's a good man. If I had a pool running right now, fantasy Succession, Greg will be the one that comes out the titan of industry right there, because he came from nothing. So, all right, guys, thank you so much, and I will see you soon. All right.